Guitar Hero is such a classic PS2 series. Its impact on the rhythm game genre was highly significant. Hell, its impact on the gaming industry as a whole was pretty big. Guitar Hero, like a lot of other games, went through many changes throughout its development, and not everything that was intended to get into the final release saw the light of day. Today, we'll be talking about some unused assets from the first two Guitar Heroes, and discuss a little bit about what they could have been, and I'll be talking about everything from prototypes, demos, and even the final product. Just for the record, I'm obviously not going to include every unused thing, rather, the more interesting ones that spark curiosity or have a story. You don't need to know the many textures that are the same as the ones used in the final game but have slightly different colors. Guitar Hero 1 started the journey, and Harmonix had to do a lot of work in order to make a fun, presentable, and respectable game they were proud to sell. So this game went through many changes before it started to form and become the game it is today. So, as I mentioned before, I'm going to talk about the prototype and the final release of Guitar Hero 1, but before I do that, I want to talk about some of the teaser videos for this game that showed off some of the concepts that were changed for the retail release. One of the biggest takeaways from these videos is hoppos are completely absent, so it seems this edition was made quite late into development. Some other big things are the obvious changes to the UI, such as the rock meter, star power bar, and how the fretboard colors are red, orange, yellow, green, blue. The multiplayer boxes are missing too, with only a 2X that will appear in the bottom left if the player does well enough. Interestingly, the video for Spanish Castle Magic has vocals for that song, even though they were cut for the final release. Supposedly, Jimi Hendrix's lawyers didn't want Wavegroup to imitate Hendrix's voice, so they cut out the vocals but left the instrumentation. Aside from all that, the bar venue isn't as crowded as the final product. It's missing some of the decor like the snake on the walls. Speaking of which, the garden venue has the guitarist take center stage rather than the singer, and the singer also has a different design in these videos, with a darker shirt and longer hair. The Toxic Fest venue has 3 different posters that appear on stage, which is just replaced with a banner that represents the decor at the venue. Speaking of which, these posters are still in the final game, but go unused. While still on videos, there's a few videos on the prototype that reflect some of these early videos in terms of the venue and character designs, although the UI is missing. The prototype also has an early version of the intro too, with less footage shown and this text citing the animation as a placeholder. Okay, one more thing about pre-release material. There's a video from G4 that shows an early version of the setlist paper and a song complete screen that was replaced with a newspaper article in the final game. Okay, so let's talk about the most popular piece of unused content for Guitar Hero 1, the leftover songs. There's Triplet by Andrea Bush and Graveyard Shift by unknown artist, although there is speculation that it was probably a Harmonix employee named Aaron, or as he's called in the prototype, Gurney. They're only accessible if the player has a Game Shark or can find some other way to modify their game. Triplet is this rather difficult song that has this long solo, and it's incredibly hard to play due to the first game's lackluster hoppos. And Graveyard Shift is an alternative rock song that's quite easy. There was speculations these songs were stuck into the game without permission by Harmonix, but this turned out to be untrue. Triplet's artist, Andrea Bush, opened up about these songs and why they were cut from the game, but still kept in the files in recent messages in the Milo Hacks Discord server. The reason is rather simple. Harmonix didn't feel they really fit with the rest of the bonus songs. Graveyard Shift felt too much like a homemade recording, and Triplet didn't really sound like a rock song, but despite this rejection, both songs would still remain in the code. Apparently it would have been easier to keep them in than to take them out. By the way, the Triplet Andrea presented to Harmonix was a different version of the song. And yeah, I agree with Harmonix on this one. It sounded too different from the rest of the bonus set list. It doesn't even sound like a rock song. This version is also in the prototype Guitar Hero 1. Anyways, Andrea still wanted her song in the game, so she thought if she were to re-record Triplet, then maybe Harmonix would change their minds and keep it with the rest of the bonus songs. When Andrea showed the new Triplet to Harmonix that sounded more like a rock song, they still said no, claiming they didn't want to deal with it anymore and that their previous decision was already final. So both songs were still kept on the final release, but completely inaccessible, which led Andrea to learn how to work with Game Shark and other cheat systems, so players can mess with the code of the game in order to play both songs. Now, this fractured trust between Harmonix and Andrea, despite the fact she asked if she could do so and got permission. So yeah, that's a little bit about the hidden Guitar Hero 1 songs, and with that all out of the way, let's talk about the rest of the unused assets. So, you know how on the setlist paper, there are small illustrations to add some personality to them? Well, most of these are missing in the prototype, and there's even a few drawings that didn't make it into the game like this paper, although this one's from the final release. It's just not used. The crossed out PMRC is on the final paper though. The setlist names in the prototype are also different from the final game, with this version having a snarky phrase in parentheses. This texture called Edit Hero seems to indicate players are able to customize the character they play as, or perhaps this option would have been close to the outfits option in Guitar Hero 2. Harmonix did have a game before this called Karaoke Revolution, which allowed for players to create a custom character from scratch, so perhaps this mechanic would have seen a return if Harmonix didn't decide to go with the pre-made characters. There's two other textures that look like this, a Play Show asset, and the Unlock Shop asset. Of course, both these features are in the game, but they fit in with the text of the pre-venue select screen. Seems these assets were leftovers from an early menu design. Okay, so there's these two textures on the screen called Venue and Character. For what purpose they were supposed to serve is unknown. My theory is, maybe players were allowed to pick which character and venue they wanted when playing a song on Quick Play, but it was cut for some reason. Either that, or they were early versions of the venue map and character select screen. Speaking of the venue select screen, there's a fully colored version of the map in the game files, which I figure is probably concept art. There's also locked venue images that have each venue blacked out with a question mark in the middle, so it seems players were allowed to explore the map and see the silhouette of the venues before unlocking them. And before we move on from the venues, the prototype also has these new venue unlock screens that were cut in place of the status screens after beating a set list. There's this crude drawing of what appears to be an early version of the load band screen. I'm pretty sure this was something they made for the prototypes and never wanted to use for the retail release. Some of the fretboards saw major changes between the prototype and final build. Izzy Spark's fretboard originally had a skull with a top hat on and a different pentagram design. Johnny Napalm's fretboard had a more prominent, darker British flag on it, and no paper clips. Okay, so the press kit for this game had some unused concept art, so let's start with the characters. There's this drawing of a big beefy dude who would have supposedly represented rap rock, but if you ask me, he looks a little too similar to Axel Steele. There's also artwork for an indie rock character and a god character, who perhaps inspired the inclusion of God of Rock in Guitar Hero 3. Moving on, there's a select difficulty screen of a robot hitting the fretboard notes, a way different looking main menu screen, and a barren loading screen, and it seems part of this concept was moved over to Guitar Hero 2's loading screens. Speaking of the press kit, there's this video of people rocking out with the Guitar Hero controller to the game's cover of Ace of Spades. Okay, so this is an unused material, but I thought I would bring it up anyways. The European release of Guitar Hero 1 has an extra bonus video, which is just a couple of random people playing some of the bonus songs live and having a fun time. Since I'm sure most of the people that played Guitar Hero 1 were American, I figured only so many fans of the franchise knew this video existed. Oh, by the way, this is not really that significant, but it kinda intrigued me. The folder for the song Hey has a subfolder named You, like Hey You. I don't know why it's here, there's nothing in this folder. It's strange. So, as I was making this video, I found something in the press kit, an early look at the venue map screen. First of all, part of the font is different, and it's missing the ticket stub from the final game. It also seems the Freak Pit was originally going to be called the Bomb Shelter. Maybe that's why early photos and videos of this venue look kind of barren, and don't have some of the assets found in the retail release. Well, with that being said out of the way, it's time to talk about Guitar Hero 2 and its unused assets. There's really not any unused textures in the retail release, or at least not a lot of them, so this section will focus mostly on the OPM demo and the kiosk demo. Oh, by the way, you'll notice some extra things in the UI of the gameplay that's not in the vanilla game, but these aren't anything from Harmonix. All these additions are from the deluxe mod for this game that adds so many quality of life updates that are so worth having. Okay, let's get on with the show. Okay, so there's leftover code in the game that released the drums gameplay. This code refers to the different parts of the drum kit, and interestingly enough, there's even assets of the drums in the game, and they're fairly similar to the ones that would appear in the Rock Band games. Guitar Hero 2 also has some unused setlist drawings that never made it into the game, including two rocker dudes next to each other, and a big cat coming out of a bush. Obviously these were cut from the final game. They were a little too crude compared to the drawings that would appear in the final game. Speaking of which, these prototype drawings are actually on the paper texture, while the used drawings are their own textures, just overlaid on the setlist texture. There's two different unused selector difficulty screens, and I swear, these have to be placeholders because they're really odd, even more odd than some of the other menu posters, which says a lot. Speaking of which, the loading screen on the prototype is different too, with the design seemingly taken from the Harmonix Arena venue. Guitar Hero 2 Deluxe uses this as its loading screen. And one more unused venue thing. The E3 build has this icon for the Vans Warped Tour venue, and if this wasn't a placeholder, I wonder what kind of icons the other locations would have had. A prototype video of Guitar Hero 2 shows the rock meter would have caught fire if the player had a 4x multiplier during solos, rather than the guitar's hands catching fire. So, there's this image in the characters folder, and it hasn't really decided what the Grim Reaper was going to look like. This design is rather strange. He looks like a bird with the way his skull is shaped. Grim doesn't have any other prototype textures, so I can only imagine what he would have looked like if they kept this design. Speaking of character icons, Johnny's, Casey's, Xavier's, and Izzy's icons were all changed too. While still on characters, the character select screen is different too, with the icons missing and the rocker a lot closer to the screen than in the final release. Oh, and one more thing, Grim and Johnny have different fretboards in the kiosk prototype too. There's 3 music loops that were made for this game, but go unused. There's this loop that sounds like Back in Black by AC/DC. Funny enough, Harmonix did want to get this song in a Guitar Hero. Well, I guess it sort of came true. By the way, this file doesn't imply Back in Black was going to be in the game. It's more than likely a placeholder, as it was also included in the Guitar Hero 1 prototype. Anyways, there's a meta loop for Arterial Black by Drist, and You Really Got Me by Van Halen, or should I say Wave Group, that didn't make it into the final game. Okay, one more thing. Bang Your Head was seemingly supposed to make an appearance in Guitar Hero 2, as it's in the retail demo, and it even has an extended solo that's not Rock the 80s. Well, that's about all the unused things I wanted to talk about for this video. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.